What's up YouTube? So you already know, you clicked the video. I'm going to show you how to put cells in series. This is how electrical tape. I did this one a long time ago. So did I do this one and this one. A very long time ago. I've done many packs together. Many times in the 2 years that I've been in this hobby. And I've never had a problem. As long as you follow everything I say in this video, you will not have a problem. You should have heat shrink instead of electrical tape, but I ran out, and back then I didn't really have heat shrink, so I was using electrical tape. Alright, let's get juicy. So, you have a lipo. Every lipo follows certain standards, which are, and this is going to be hard to show you because right now my right is your left and my left is your right, so I'm going to try my best to explain things according to your perspective. So this is going to be your left. Alright, you see there's like a pamphlet here. Let's see if I could expose it. Alright, so you see that pamphlet that's going that way, these edges that they bend towards you. Well, when they're facing you like this, okay, it's hard to say, your left is going to be the positive and your right is going to be the negative. I just really fucked myself over. But, so you get it. When it's facing you, on the left side is going to be the positive and the right side is going to be the negative. Oh man, this is killing me. Or the way I look at it, like this. Now it's on your right side. Now the pamphlets are facing away from you, and the exposed anode and cathode are on top. So your right side is going to be the positive, and your left side is going to be the negative. I'm going to repeat. The pamphlets are facing away from you, so on your right is going to be the positive, and on your left is going to be the negative. This is the same for every single lipo I have ever messed with. Every single one of them follows this standard. That when the pamphlets face away from you, your right is the positive and your left is the negative. This is very important. If you fuck this up, you could blow your shit. Alright. Now that we got that out of the way, positive, negative, pamphlets are facing away from you, pamphlets are facing towards you, positive, negative. Alright. And I'll show you for multimeter real quick. Pamphlets facing towards you, positive, negative, right? We're getting around 3.87 volts, and it's positive. I hope I didn't confuse you, but if you pick one way to do this, I suggest you pick this way, pamphlets facing away from you, positive on your right, negative on your left. Pick that way, you'll be fine. So do everything I tell you, fine. In fact, that's the way that I do it. I'm sorry if it's confusing. I know I did two sides, but that's two methods you could use to know this. Now, I'm gonna do a forest config, and with a forest config, same thing, 2S, 3S. Once you know how to do at least 2S, you know how to do the rest. I'm gonna do this 300 Celsius. And man, this is gonna suck because I'm gonna put this on and now you can't hear me over the rattling noise. So I'm gonna put it low, which probably won't suck anything. One thing that's very important is you need a good soldering iron that you can change the temperature. I got this one off Banggood. I've had it for like 1 year and it's been totally worth it. It's still working. It cost me like $7-8 and it's temperature controlled, and temperature control works fine. It came with a couple of tips. They're fine too. Still good till this day. You need good solder. This is a pretty bad solder, which is the one that I'm going to use, but it works. Now this This solder that I got off Amazon, I'll try to get the link. It was like £1 and it's the best solder I've used so far. But you need good solder, and you need to make sure your tips aren't burnt, and you need to make sure your iron gets hot enough to heat up solder. If you suck at soldering, don't do this. And if you suck at soldering, it's probably because you have a bad tip, bad iron, and it doesn't heat up enough. Or you're using shitty solder that doesn't have enough flux. Last night because it was pretty late. Alright, so one thing that I missed out is that you'll notice that some of the cells, they'll have one plate facing this way and another plate facing that way. You shouldn't bend them because that might break the adhesive loose that's in here that's keeping the pack sealed. But if you have to, go ahead and bend them. Just be very careful because you could just break it and that'd just be a pain in the ass. Alright, so I have this cell which the pamphlets are facing towards you, so the positive is on this side, the negative is on this side. Alright, so, and I have this one, pamphlets facing you, the edges are facing you, so positive on this side, negative on this side. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have them face away from each other, because there's two ways of doing this. They either face away from each other or towards each other, the edges of the pamphlets, the angling of them. So I have them facing away from each other. No real reason. I could do it like this too, with them facing towards each other, but I'm going to do them with them facing away from each other. And I'm going to put them like that, and I'm going to solder to this bottom area right here. I'm going to do that real quick. Hopefully I don't have any problems. So I'm going to put up my pan because this is just not enough to filter out the flux. Alright, so I've made a connection. I'm just going to make sure the cells are tight together when the solder is melted, when the solder dries. Alright, so we got a pretty good joint there. You see, it's on the bottom. And remember, we have the positive here on this right side, because the pamphlets are facing you. Well, my right side, which is your left. And then the negative on this cell, on this side, pamphlets facing you, so it's your right side, the negative side. And so this negative connects to, now pamphlets facing you of this cell, right? The right side's on this side, and the negative side's on this side. So the negative of this cell, remember, is going to the positive of this cell. And as long as you do that, you have negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, with the two ends of the packs not having their ending anode or cathode connected, is fine. Alright, my battery died. So now that I've soldered this one, I'm gonna separate these two with 3M tape that I made. That's pretty good. Alright, so try to guess. I have this pamphlet, this Bible with the pamphlet facing that way. Which way should the one that comes to it face? he guessed this way towards each other is correct. So have this one, pamphlets facing this way, so it's gonna go on that one like that. And I'm gonna solder it real quick. And my first pack is kind of sketchy. Alright, so I'm gonna put a separator right here. Alright, so the pamphlets for this pack are facing this way, so which way should the pamphlets of the other pack face? Since they're facing inward into these packs, the other one has to face this way, opposite way. So I get this one, and we're going to put it in there, and I'm going to solder it real quick. Alright, now I'm going to put a separator in between the two cells that shouldn't touch. The two anodes and cathodes that shouldn't touch. Alright, so this probably looks complicated right now, but it's going to be simple. So, the connections, they're always zigzagging. So you see, I started with this one, which is the positive, and it's not touching anything. I went to the negative, and I made it touch the positive of the other cell. And you see the pamphlets, this one, the edges of the pamphlets are facing that way. This one, the edges of the pamphlets are facing this way. So remember, there's only two ways. Outward or inward. Alright, so now we go to this one. So we got the positive for this second cell here and the negative here, and the pamphlet's facing this way, so the one that comes to it, the third cell, is going to be this one. So they come together. And so that negative goes to this positive on this cell, because the pamphlets on this cell are facing that way, which would be towards you, so positive is on your left. And so to that positive, and then we go to this negative, which goes to the positive of this battery. So it's simple. Positive goes to negative, negative goes to positive. That's how it should be, zigzagging in connections between the cells. If you just do the pamphlet thing, where pamphlets going inward or pamphlets going outward. If you have pamphlets going the same direction and you solder both of them, that's in parallel. If you solder one of them, that's basically no connection. So we got the first one, pamphlet going that way, pamphlet going this way. We solder onto the bottom one. We go to the next one, pamphlet going this way, pamphlet going that way. We solder onto that one, the top one. We go to the next one, pamphlet going this way, pamphlet going that way. And we solder onto the bottom one. Use zigzag and use the multimeter if you forget which one's positive or which is negative. But when you lay down the Lipo and you have the pamphlet going down, the positive is going to be on your right and the negative is going to be on your left. Alright. If it was kind of complicated, watch the video as many times as you need. Now we're going to go on to the next part, which I personally like to do this first. Alright, so now the two ending points, which is this one and this one, we're going to solder the main lead to. The way you know which one's red and which one's negative is the pamphlet thing. If the edge of the pamphlet for the first one, while it's facing down, it's on your right, then it's the positive. If it's on the left, it's on your negative. So this bottom one is facing right, it's the positive. And this other one, the pamphlet's facing to your nut side. So the camera is like inverting everything for you. So it's on your left, which is right here. So your pamphlet's facing down. So that's a negative. We usually like to do this with a tweezer so it's not too hot on my fingers, or whatever. By the way, if you're having problems soldering to these and you know your iron's good, you might want to get aluminum flux us for aluminum, so you can actually put aluminum on the part that won't accept solder. So when you're soldering these, you want to solder at a very high temperature, because if you don't, you could melt off the adhesive that's joining the cells, and that would be bad because you get oxygen in the cell and you don't want it. I don't really care for me, because I'm not even sure if I'm going to use this pack again. I can already see this cell is like pretty bad because it's a little bit swollen. Alright, so now we got that. We'll double check real quick. So it's facing you, so the positive is going to be on the left and the negative is going to be on the right. So you see the positive on the right, we put the balance lead. It's facing you, positive is going to be on the right, the negative is going to be on the left. We put the negative on the left lead. So we got that. We put the leads on the two ones that never had a connection. Now we're going to go into this. This is not a big a deal. And it's a lot simpler than you think. So, negative black goes to black, right? And after that, we just move on to the next one. Gets the next red, gets the next red, gets the next red, gets the next red. So you just zigzag like we did before. First negative, second, which would be a red, third, which would be the second red, fourth, which would be the third red, and fifth, which will be this last red. If you want to orient it like this or like this, it's all up to you. I'm going to do whichever one's easiest. Let's see, I'm going to do it like this, just because my last red, which goes to this one, is the longest. If I put it right here, I'm not going to be able to solder the rest. So I'm going to start with the negative. It goes to the negative main lead. Alright. Now I'm going to go to the other side of the cell, and I'm going to solder the first red after the negative to there. Alright, now the second positive, you got the black, the first red one, and then the second red one. We'll zigzag from here all the way to the other side. Alright, now that we got that one, we'll get the third red one and we'll put it on the adjacent one. We're going to zigzag back. Now the last one, it goes to the main positive lead. Got the best soldering on that last one, which is very important, but I don't give a crap right now. Alright, so now that I'm done soldering, I'm going to disconnect this and make this easy for you. Alright, so let's name from this black wire. Let's call it 1, and then the one next to it 2, then 3 and 4 and 5. Alright? So 1, which is the black one, goes to the main negative one. 2, which is the red one, goes to it zigzags to the connection between this first battery and this second LiPo. 3 will adjacent to the next one, which will have cell 2 and cell 3. 4 will adjacent to the next one, which will have cell 3 and cell 4, and then 5 will go to the ending, which is positive to positive. Alright, it's not that hard, it's just zigzagging. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very simple. So now we're going to check if we actually did this correct. Alright, so we got our multimeter, and the way we're going to check if we did this correctly is if we measure between the main positive and the main negative, see what voltage we get. We get 15.2 volts, so we know that is correct. Now if you want to check if like you have some series cell configuration giving you the voltage you want, you measure between the cells. Right now I'm measuring between the first and the end of the second, see what voltage I get, and I'm getting 7.67. Now if we want to measure between the second and the third, go to the beginning of the second and to the end of the third and measure. We get 7.58. Same if you want to measure between the third and the fourth cell. 7.53. You're getting negative voltage. You messed up in the middle somewhere connecting it. Alright, I don't really know what else to tell you. I mean, this was a very hard video to make, and I hope it didn't confuse you. But if you take one thing from it, it's going to be that when the pamphlet is facing away from you, on your right side it's going to be the positive, and on your left side it's going to be the negative. You know that, and you connect positive to negative, positive to negative, positive to negative, and you do the zigzagging, you'll be fine with leaving the first one not connected to anything and the second one and the ending one not connected to anything. You'll be fine. So after this, and you got to make sure that you separate the pamphlets. This one's not separated correctly. I'll need to put some tape over it later. You separate it correctly, you use shrink wrap, and you'll be fine. When I use the shrink wrap, I'll put some tape over here so nothing moves, and then I'll shrink wrap it. I hope this video was helpful, and good luck. Don't burn your house down. If you don't think you can do this, don't bother. I made this little diagram for you guys. You can see here on the 1S, the negatives on the left, the positives on the right, the pamphlets going inwards towards the paper. Alright, so here we have a 2S. These edges are the pamphlet's direction. So you can see there's the negative, the positive, then that positive goes to the negative of the other battery, which the pamphlets of the other battery are facing this direction. So you see they're facing inwards. And here we did them outwards, facing outwards. See, the first one's facing outward, the second one's facing inward. You can see positive, negative. And I drew the balance lead and the XC60 and the connections to it. So everything's pretty self-explanatory here. And you should be fine if you follow this diagram. I'll try to have a good photo at the end of this diagram. I have 1S, 2S, 3S, 4S, 5S, and 6S. I hope this isn't getting my boxers. If it is, oh well. But yeah, and I did it 2 times. One where the first pack was facing this way, and one where the second pack was facing the other way. And I did that for each one of them. So you should be fine with this. Each time, on the first time the XC60 is on top, the second time the balance lead is on top, and that's for all of them. Alright, and with that I'm just gonna finish. Thanks for watching the video. If you liked it or it helped you, subscribe. I spent a couple of days doing this and a lot of time trying to make sure it was good. And I know it's not perfect, but hey, that's what you get for free. And happy flying.